Hi there everybody at Vinyl Community and YouTube. I have a whole lot things to film actually, but I felt like I wanted to do the vinyl CD update now when the month is over, so it won't be just as late as the previous one. June has been a really good month. I have a whole lot of things to show, so forgive me if the video will be a little bit longer, but I'll try to go through these as fast as I can. A really great month, as I said. I have shown many on Facebook for you, those of you who follow me there, but here you can also see it more closely. I bought a whole lot of vinyl singles due to the fact that one second-hand store that I've been visiting regularly, a thrift store called Fyndlagret, that have been with me ever since I started to collect, more or less. I've been there, a regular customer there since I started to collect records actually. So a little bit sad that they're closing down, but still I found a whole lot of great stuff for very cheap price. So let's go through. A lot of these singles are blind buys that I have no clue of what they are actually, but they look pretty interesting, and for 10 or 20 cents I could definitely take a chance. First off, someone I know who it is. I bought some older stuff actually, Jim Reeves, Waltzing on Top of the World, and Because I Love You Because, and the second track is the main reason why I bought it, because that one is really good. I like Jim Reeves' voice. I think he's a great artist that I can listen to in normal doses. Barbara Dixon, January and February from 1980. Barbara Dixon, more known for the musical genre, done a lot of musicals like Chess. I think this is a more popular style, so I got a little bit interested. Carina Carlsson, here in Sweden, famous from the TV show Toffelhjältarna. Interesting to see what it is. Gaylan Dorsey, Just Another Dream. Sister Sledge, Dancing on the Jagged Edge. Not all that fond of Sister Sledge. This is from 1985, from the same album as their big hit Frankie. It's produced by Nile Rodgers. I got curious. Let's see how good it is. Some of these I hope I don't have. I was a little bit doubtful whether I did have it or not, but Stacker Humanoid, a classic house track from 87. Freeze, I.O.U, a classic produced by Arthur Baker, classic track. Barry Gibb, Shine Shine from 1984. 80s wasn't Bee Gees' best decade, but interesting anyway. Randy Crawford, Give Peace a Chance. She has done some John Lennon stuff before. She did Imagine, a great version. Give Peace a Chance is not one of my favorite songs overall. But still, Randy, I want it, and the B-side is Don't Come Knocking from the Windsong album, so only for that it could be interesting. Comes a couple of singles that I have no clue what it is actually. Two of Us from 1985. I think it is some kind of a German band, but it's 80s. Let's give it a try. Donna Allen, Serious. Might be some soul stuff, but I have no clue who she is. H2O, Just Outside of Heaven, from 83. Helen Terry, Lessons in Loneliness. I know sort of what Helen Terry is. I've heard her when I was a kid in Swedish radio, but that is about it. I haven't heard her since. A little lost in what kind of music she does, but I've heard these songs before. Here's another one, Unfortunate Fool. But it was around 30 years ago since I heard them. Mary D. Marshall, My Obsession, from 1985. Hey, it's from 1985, my favorite year in pop music. So it says 1985 on the single. Blind Buy. Boys Brigade, Melody, from 1984. Darling Buds, You Got to Choose, also a band that I've heard of, but have no check on for real what kind of music they does. I heard them when I was a kid also in Swedish radio, but that also was about around 30 years. Tycoon, Such a Woman, now we're coming into some 70s, Blind Buys. Franz Jolie, Come to Me, from 79. Mike Batt, Losing Your Way in the Rain, featuring Colin Blunstone, 1979. If you don't recognize any of these, I don't either. Roger Hodgson, Had a Dream, from 1984. Rodney Åhman, Du är rädd, Swedish song, You Are Afraid, produced by Swedish group Style, so it might be interesting. Marc, it comes to some singles that I actually have heard, I have managed to listen to. Marc Seaberg, Cuckoo. This is a cult song that I wonder what they're thinking. It's so stupid that it actually is funny. So really interesting. Le Model, Yes With My Body. I thought this was also going to be pretty stupid, but it actually was really good disco track. Sarah Brightman, Love in a UFO. Sarah Brightman, star in the musical genre World Superstar, that in the 70s and early 80s actually was a disco star with her own band. It's a very interesting, great. She sang songs with a whole lot of space themes. A lot of songs was about aliens and UFOs and stuff like that. And her most famous band was Sarah Brightman and a Starship Trooper. She had a pretty good hit with I'm in Love, I Lost My Heart to a Starship Trooper. I think this is the follow-up single, Adventures of a Love Crusader. Also a great one, actually. Kiki D, famous for her song with Elton John. One Jump Ahead of the Storm. Don't Go Breaking My Heart was a song with Elton John. Pretty good song. Also a couple that I bought, not at Finnlaget, but a couple of singles that I bought during this month. Hypnotic Tango by the Italian band My Mind, Italo disco from the 80s. And a classic that I was happy to find, Ring My Bell, Anita Ward. Singles. Let's go to CDs. Four CDs I bought at the closing down of Finnlaget. And first of all, Alanis Morissette and her MTV Unplugged album. For only, I think, 1 or 2 cents. The Cardigans, first band on the moon, containing Love Fool, their biggest hit outside Sweden. Manic Street Preachers, This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours. I remember when this came, actually. I was working at the community radio station and I did a review of that one in the radio. I thought it was pretty good, okay. It was interesting to see how it had developed through the years. And some really great soul music, Keith Sweat and a self-titled track from 1996, I think. And now to some jazz CDs that I shown actually on Facebook. I had the luck of go to a thrift store here in the city that I actually never been to before. And there I found 10 great CDs with Swedish jazz. And many of them are with the same artist, a great saxophone player named Lars Gullin, who was one of the best musicians in Swedish jazz. This is Lars Gullin in Germany, 1955, 56 and 59. Very, very interesting. Here we have from a series released by a great label called Dragon Records, owned by Swedish radio host Lars Westin. This is Lars Gullin, 1951 to 52, Volume 5, First Walk. Already placed them in a CD rack. This is Volume 3, 54 to 55, Late Summer. This one is Swedish musicians. Here we have Volume 2, 53, Modern Sounds. Here it is with a lot of American musicians like Lee Konitz, Zoot Sims, and so on. And 1951, 55 to 56, with Chet Baker. More Lars Gullin. This is the one I've heard, actually. This is a really, really great CD. So relaxing and really great. This is the artistry of Lars Gullin, released on Sonnet Universal, tracks from 1957 and 1958. And we have Lars Gullin with strings, featuring alt saxophone of Rolf Billberg, another Swedish musician. Really great CD. In concert of Museum of Modern Art in Stockholm. Leaving Lars Gullin now. There is and was a place in Stockholm that was pretty debated in the 40s and 50s, called Nalen, a jazz place where young kids could go and dance and listen to jazz, but it wasn't seen with all that good eyes by the grown-ups, who thought it was a place for sin. 40s and 50s. But they have made a whole lot of recordings from that place, Nalen, with the Swedish bands who play there live. And this is 18 original recordings from the year 1954 to 57. A night at Nalen, with some of Sweden's best musicians in the 50s. Nalen still exists. Although it's a whole lot different today, it's more seen as one of Sweden's most important culture places for culture. They play still jazz there, but it's also some for other musical events also. I haven't been inside Nalen yet. I hope to be there one day when I go to Stockholm. Rolf Billberg I mentioned, Swedish musician. Here he is with an album of his own, Darn That Dream. 60s recordings. Also released on the great Swedish label Dragon. And finally, in the CDs, is a musician I had no idea what it was. It was more or less a blind buy, but I heard some quick peeks of this one. It sounds really, really interesting. Max Bryl is a Danish saxophone player. Recordings 1950 to 57. Plays both with Danish and Swedish musicians in quartet, quintet, sextet, and a big band. Big bands recordings. So it's very, very interesting. Always fun to find jazz from countries that I don't hear that much jazz from. See if I can move the singles away from here. Going into the full-length vinyls. Starting off with an album that I once again have to say thanks to Baraka P. Dub Paul. He showed it in a video that he made where he showed a whole lot of Herb Alpert. Now Herb Alpert is my favorite musician, but he's done some interesting stuff. I have a couple of singles, and I have, as you have seen, that Whipped Cream album. But he showed an album that I got really interested in because it sounded so different. Herb Alpert in some kind of funk soul touch, and it was this one, Rise, from 1979. So I found it and I bought it, and I thought to myself, why not? Here is an album that is very, very interesting, that I want to have for quite some time. This is Dr. Hook and Happy Sloppy Seconds from 1972, containing their big hits, the cover of the Rolling Stone that I've heard as a child and I thought was really, really good. So really fun to have. This one is also great. I have it on a cassette copy. Now I have it for real also. Kitaro, Japanese new wave relaxing ambient musician, and the album Silk Road. He plays some kind of a synthesizer, very, very, very relaxing and dreamy music. This is a double LP set from 1980 that I've heard a lot as a child. I had a family friend who recorded a whole lot of Kitaro for me on cassettes, and I listened to every now and then. More jazz, Shades of Grey, Wardle Grey, and containing 4 tracks, but it's really, really interesting. Great crisscross between swing and bop. Really, really heard quick peeks of it. It sounds really, really great. This one I showed on Facebook. Oscar Peterson Trio live from Chicago. Oscar Peterson, Ray Brown, and Ed Thigpen. Always happy to find Oscar Peterson live albums. This is then a Verve release. It sounds very, very great now. See if I can. Really nice Verve record there. Isley Brothers, 3+3, containing the big hit That Lady from 1973. It sounds really funky from the quick peeks I've heard from it. Very, very interesting. 2 records by Lou Rawls. This one is a pretty modern one from 1982, but I got interested in it. Now is the time. And the other one caught my interest, even though it doesn't have a proper sleeve. It just have this kind of sleeve, but I bought it anyway because it was cheap, and it contains. It was released on Philadelphia. It can never be wrong. So it is All Things in Time from 1976. This one band that I wanted to have an album with for quite some time that I've heard on web radio channels for with 70s music. It's a channel called Pop Goes to 70s with some live 365, I think. And I got very interested in the music, but I never was able to find a record with them here in Sweden. Now I finally have a record with Captain and Tannille. Make Your Move from 1979. Some more jazz. Buck Clayton, one of my favorite trumpet players, really sadly forgotten one. Really swing artist. Jumping at the Woodside, a Buck Clayton jam session. Buck Clayton was one of Count Basie's main musicians. And this album contains also some of the greatest one: Buddy Tate, Coleman Hawkins, Benny Green, Ruby Braff, and a whole lot of great stuff. Joe Newman, Freddie Green, many of the Count Basie musicians, except Count Basie himself, most likely of contractual reasons. But it's recording from the 50s, 1954 to 55. Sounds very, very interesting. Found myself Jimmy Smith this month also on the Fyndlager Sellout. Respect. What's the point with this sleeve with Jimmy Smith pretending to be a karate guy? But not the best sleeve, but still it's Jimmy Smith, and I felt like for the very low price on at a sellout of for 75% sellout, I felt like I gotta have it. Grady Tate drums, Eric Gale guitar, and Ron Carter bass. 1967. Bought yesterday. Luther Vandross, Give Me the Reason from 1986. Some great 80s funky soul. And an album that I bought merely because of Suspicion. Everybody, you know by now my fascination over albums that is so weird that you wonder, whatever did I think of here? And I know this album might be, I know that it's made of by some kind of humor, a comedy album, but it's really, really weird. The Nothing record album. And it looks like a normal album, special lyrics sheet and poster inside. And when I turned around and looked at the back side, I got the feeling that this is something weird. When the critics here is a different kind of celebrities. Dolly Parton says, "Fabulous, I have 2 of them." Sid Vicious says, "My kind of music." Stevie Wonder says, "It sounds as good as it looks." Really, really weird stuff. Dalai Lama, an invaluable learning tool, and recorded in no neural sound, can be played stereo or with a sharp knitting needle. For best results, play loud. And here's the thing about it. This lyric sheet and poster inside, blank. Empty papers. And this is this inside sleeve, inner sleeve. A lot of humor here. Tip of this guide to the record's enjoyment. A birth control device. It's a plate. It's a knife. Terrorize your local pool. And it's just filled with irony and humor. The title, Sound of Silence, Nothing Jam, Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. And you get it right. Even though the record has tracks, it's nothing on it. I listened to it, and it's empty. It's just silence. It's silence on the record. They released an album called the Nothing Record Album, and made a total irony over this record, and released silence. I can feel like for those who eventually doesn't get the humor in this, buys it and put it on. Oh, interesting to see, and here's nothing. Must be really, really, what the heck? I think this is great and funny humor. The weirdest and most funniest record that I actually ever have bought. So I will definitely keep this one as something that to smile and laugh at. So that was June, and the summer is on the rolling. So now let's see what July has to offer. During from the 10th of July, I'm going to Gothenburg, Sweden's second biggest city, on vacation, and most likely buy some records also there. And I will of course do a travelogue from there for those of you who like that. Between 10th and 1 week ahead, I won't be able to do any videos, but hopefully it will pay off in some great series of videos from Gothenburg. So until next time, take care. So long.